All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Health Tips for Life. So, very excited to be with you on the first week of this new year 2024. Hope you had a happy new year with your family and so forth. Dr. Stewart is not here yet. I am waiting for him to log in. In the meantime, I figured I'd just come on the air here and chat with you a little bit before he gets over here. So, as some of you might know, today is my birthday. So, yes, I some say, well, you need to spend it with your family and so forth. Yes, I do, but also you guys are like my family also. So it's nice to be with you as well. So, to give you an idea, what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be talking about really the importance of cholesterol. Of course, what is happening is that anytime discussion doesn't matter whether among the medical community or just regular people and so forth, anytime the discussion on the cholesterol comes up, there is always that focus on the negative aspects of it, mainly the effect. Oh, cholesterol give you a heart attack, cholesterol does this, cholesterol does that, and so forth. What, especially what the medical institutions do. Uh, oh, thank you. I want to say thank you to Jan Hakor. Thank you. Hi, Jude. This is what I wanted to talk. Just waiting until Dr. Stewart logs in here to really breaks down. But for me, I just want to take this opportunity and just talk to you based on what I've learned over the years. As somebody who's really focused myself on my health to make sure. And one of the notions that I've always had my doctors back then, still till today, tell me, "Oh, Mister O, your cholesterol is so high." And I was like, no, it's not too high. If you look for the age bracket when I'm at, that's where it needs to be. And this based on scientific research that I've read. It's not that I'm just making that hypothetically. So, and this is why, as I said, anytime you hear a conversation about cholesterol, it always goes on a negative side. Let alone that the medical doctors, which are trained to push for medication, that just you all know it's nothing surprising about that. So, but if you think about the importance of cholesterol, which help with various aspects of it, is that the idea of bodily functions, cell buildings and repair, the bioproductions, the hormone productions, and so forth. There's a lot involved, and then just how it works. Uh, a lot of people do not understand the ins and outs. Well, because the doctor says so, that means it's written on a stone. No, no. Doctors are. I'm talking about Western approach. I'm not talking about the East. The East sees it differently. As a matter of fact, some Eastern cultures, if you look at their diet, I look at like the Asian diets, for example, and I or even the time when I traveled over to Thailand and the one to Southeast Asia and so forth, I could at least, and I know people, they're good friends of mine from Vietnam, for example. I used to eat with them, and I always looked at the diet. The diet is based on vegetables. There is no some like processed food. That is where the issue is. Cholesterol, of course, is bad. But if you consume the bad cholesterol, that is where the issue is. So, and what I'm talking about here is the cholesterol that is, uh, for example, if you eat butter, the real butter, I go and get my butter from the farm, unsalted, high in fat, but it's the good fat. So, and I've been doing it for a while now. Same thing with milk. Usually, I don't drink milk much, and I don't use it. I use it for yogurt, homemade yogurt. But I will buy the one from the farm that is not processed. The one at the store, it's just water. Little long now they're saying, well, you could have what you call it, skim milk, which is it's pathetic anyway. And that's where they tie the idea of, oh, cholesterol is so high, it must be bad. Not necessarily. And as I said, based on the age, and I'm looking at it. Let me say thank you to Juge for wishing me a happy birthday. Thank you, George. The idea of that, and again, I'm an example of it. Why? Because if I take you back literally 20 years, 25 years, I was iffy about, for example, eggs. I hardly ever ate eggs on a daily basis. If you check with me now for the last 8 or 10 years, I have eggs every day. As a matter of fact, I have 4 chickens at home. So every day. And yet the doctors will say, oh, eggs are bad for you because cholesterol and all that. No. So what they're starting to do, the industry, they'll come up with egg white. I don't know if you are aware of this or not. I'm sure you've seen it in the supermarket. What is that? There is no nutritional values in it whatsoever. And a kind of, no, I'm going to take health into my own hand. I respect the doctor's knowledge and so forth. But if I am realizing that I am eating fats, and of course, I got to check on what type of fat. I'm lucky. I have access to people with the knowledge. Dr. Stewart is one of them. I run things by him sometimes, and I'll get a feedback as to, no, you'll be fine with this or that and so forth. So that is one of the reasons why the conversation always about fat goes into the negative side of it. Well, as you may know, I don't know where Dr. Stewart here. He's not logging in. I guess the weather here, we got some storms passing by and so forth. It's been raining a lot, so maybe that has to do with that or not. But anyway, we'll keep going here till he comes in, if he's able to join me here. So, oh, George, I see you. You wrote. Let me see this one here. Many episodes back, you showed us a bottle of kefir. I bought one and have grown to like it. I still have it in the fridge. But what you do with kefir is you get the regular milk, whole milk, not a fat-free stuff, whole milk from the farm, and you put them in a jar, and you put a little bit of kefir. Why? Because kefir has a lot of bugs in it. You put it in the yogurt, in the milk, cover it, of course, the lid, and put something warm and leave it sit for 2 days, 2 or 3 days. And that's where the bug, they do their magic and so forth, and it becomes yogurt. And that's exactly what I drink every night before bedtime. So kefir is the one that I use. But I only use natural kefir. It's not a flavored, nothing has to be on that. So you'll be good with doing that one. So now, when it comes down to cholesterol, we have to understand there are two. And again, I wish Dr. Stewart would be here because he has a better understanding of the chemistry of all this. Let me just see quickly here if he is able to log in. No. Yeah, I can. He said he's logged in. He's logged in, but he's not able to get through. Refresh. Yeah, I don't know what the issue is, but he'll come in. He'll come in. We'll keep going here till he shows up. So the idea of cholesterol, first of all, I need to clarify to you that there are two types. Of course, the LDL, which is called the low density lipoprotein, LDL, and the HDL, the high density lipoprotein. LDL is what many people think and refer to as the bad cholesterol, LDL, the low density lipoprotein. The HDL is the kind that people consider good cholesterol. Well, there is a reason for why your body needs cholesterol. I mean, think about it. I'm going to ask you a question here. What is your brain is made of? Yeah. So just you think about it. What is your brain is made of? Mainly fat. That's what it is. So the only difference, you're absolutely correct, Karakulak. You're absolutely correct. It's made out of fat. So the notion that when you hear, and again, I'm talking about the Western mindset, how they approach this. You go do the physical, and they see your cholesterol above 200. Oh my gosh! Oh, we have to put you on medication. You know, now, medication, we all know one of the worst of them has to do with none other than, do you guys know the name of it? The worst medication for so-called to lower cholesterol. Does anybody know? Let me see here if what you guys type in. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Statin. That is not something you want to get ever close to. And the thing is, when you look at the side effect of it, beside the muscle pain, or that's the minor thing, is the problem of the increase of the blood sugar level. That is where the problem is. So, and of course, it creates issues with the elevation of the enzymes in the liver. Your liver usually it's the center of everything that filter everything. So you create all of the absorption also of the cholesterol that is. So let alone the internal bleeding that could happen. And this is why statin. Why? Because it is made out of chemicals. As a matter of fact, I did find out that there's rat poisons inside that medication. It's what they use for the rat. So poison, yeah. But there is a reason for all this. Why the big pharma will have to push for this? Because it's money making. That is, of course, you as the viewer and free to choose whatever. If I am to tell you because I care for your well-being, that's the whole reason for doing this. If I am to know based on fact that something is harmful, I'm going to give you a heads up. But of course, it will be your decision on that one. So this is where medication, the last thing you want. This is why at least the Western medication, they push in for this cholesterol, for this medication aspects of it. So, well, first of all, you ask yourself, well, what is cholesterol? Well, cholesterol is a cell membrane coating that usually covers the cell. That's how it does. Of course, you need cholesterol, as I mentioned earlier, to build hormones. And hormones are very crucial for your well-being. Second thing, here's the important when it comes down to anti-inflammation. And the problem is, and I wish, let me see if Dr. Stewart is here. No, he's not. So he's not here yet. The problem with the insufficient cholesterol, because it will lead you to a low estrogen and low testosterone. Those will be reflected, especially for men. Especially for men, you'll notice is in two main things. One is your energy level so low. You're always like, I have no energy to do whatsoever. Second is your sex drive. Will be down completely. And this is what part of the main issue for all this. Then you have also the idea of the brain activity. As I mentioned, what is the brain made of? Of the fat. And that's why when just notice this yourself, guys. One day. Of course, you have to do it more than one day. It has to be a lifestyle. But just try it. Get up in the morning. Depends again how many meals you eat a day, whatever. Let's just try it for once. Say you do 2 meals. You do your first meal at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock your time. And what you do about a filet mignon with some eggs and cheese, 1 piece of bread, and something else, coffee, tea, whatever you eat. That's all you have. Okay. Then go to dinner around 5 or 6 o'clock or so later on. Get just piece of salmon. Okay. Put some veggies on the side. Make some mashed potatoes with garlic, and that's it. But you will notice in the morning when you eat your filet mignon with eggs and cheese, you see how you will feel 2, 3, or 4 hours later. And just notice that, take a note, and see how you feel. You are more energetic, you are more alert, you can think clearly, and your energy level is moving on. That's just one example. Versus you start your breakfast with carbohydrates, a lot of bread, a lot of those cereals from the store, which no nutritional value whatsoever. If I advise you for one thing, drop cereal, drop that stuff, drop all that's nonsense stuff. Get rid of that. That is one of the important things. Now, just to go back to one of stuff about statin was the problem. Did you know that statin drugs can cause memory loss? And we all know how things move once you start losing your memory. That's very, very problematic. So, what else do I need to share with you here? I don't think so. Dr. Stewart can make it this time around. Let me see if I'm gonna email him, see if he can restart your. Hopefully it will work. But again, if there is the storm, which is the storm, that's the weather here, he might not be able to come in this time around. So we'll keep up with this, and you're absolutely correct, Jude. Cereal is full of sugar. Cereal, there is nothing on it. As a matter of fact, if you know the history of cereal, you have to go way back. How cereal came to be. I'm gonna dig for it. There is one video that I watched, a documentary about all this, how cereal came to be. And if I find it, I'm gonna post it for you. Because back then in time, people used to eat what's left over from the night before. So all of a sudden, you start to see this. Hold on, let me see if. Whatever he sent me the explanation, that's what I was on. All right. Sorry, guys. Yeah, Dr. Stewart have some challenges with accessing the link. So it's unusual because it's the same one. That's why copy. I'm gonna resend it again. Post Dr. Pittsburgh. Okay. Link to studio. And he is more knowledgeable than me about this stuff. So okay. They're in two separate locations. So anyway, let me keep going here. No, George, it won't work because Elizabeth is in a different location altogether. Plus, she's not at home, so it's not gonna work. But he'll try it again. We'll see if it works. So you're absolutely correct about the sugar level. And so back then, as I said, they used to eat dinner, breakfast for what they have left for dinner, till the industry start to introduce the new cereal stuff. Well, cereal was meant for some limitations of production, believe it or not. It had some objective. Here it is. Here's Dr. Stewart. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Perfect. Sorry, guys. If everybody's wondering, where's Dr. Stewart? So let's get in on it right away. I did explain the difference between the two types of cholesterol, but if you will be kind and take it over and run with it.
Well, cholesterol is remarkably important for us. For one thing, cholesterol is good for us. We're going to find out something else is true later on.
Yeah.
What is it good for? Well, every cell has a membrane on it. What do you think the membrane is made out of? Cholesterol. It's called a
Sure.
phospholipid. What do you think our hormones are made out of? If you guess cholesterol, you're correct. So what happens if you don't have enough cholesterol? You can't, among other things, you can't make enough cortisol, so you can't regulate blood sugar.
Mm.
You cannot make testosterone. You cannot make estrogen. These are really serious kinds of things.
Okay, what is
And
the
so,
importance, Doc? Doc, what is the importance of for us male testosterone? Why is that important for us?
well, it's important for several things. What most people think it's about your libido.
Yeah,
Well, that is true,
yeah.
but it's also about clarity of thinking. It's about muscle tissue. It's about strength. It's about
Mm.
endurance. All of these things are critically important to feeling healthy and producing anything. So you see someone who's lazy who who's who can't function very well. They can't think very well. They have no energy. The first thing you want to check is what's their cholesterol level, what's their testosterone level.
Level.
And for most people, it ought to be around 750.
Wow.
And anything lower than that,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel it all day, every day, and it's just a general lack of wanting to be alive. So it's critical to our aliveness. And it's critical for women as well that they have sufficient testosterone, but for the same darn reasons.
Yeah.
Also, if they don't have sufficient testosterone, they tend to be estrogen dominant and they start to get fat.
Oh,
Well, that is a bad thing.
yeah.
And they can't stop, no matter what you eat, you can't stop getting fat because estrogen really does add to that. Another
Interesting.
thing is the higher the estrogen level,
Yeah.
uh, and the more fat, the fat actually produces estrogen.
Mm.
And so you see people getting softer and plumper,
Mm-hmm.
and the more fat they put on,
Yeah.
the more estrogen they have. And the higher when estrogen levels get too high, tumors and cancer are the next step. I've
Wow.
dealt with people where we actually regulated their estrogen levels and tumors went away in weeks. Really
Interesting.
astonishing stuff.
Interesting.
Also, cholesterol is really good for brain activity. You have to have enough cholesterol to coat the neurons in your brain. And you also need it to make vitamin D. Vitamin D is so anti-cancer, you just need a whole lot of it. At least, well, let's not do a special show on. Let's do a special show on vitamin D someday.
Yeah.
But you absolutely have to have enough cholesterol to synthesize vitamin D. It's in your liver.
Interesting.
Also, you need liver bile, which is a product of the liver, to
Mm-hmm.
dissolve fats and oils, which you desperately need for both energy as a preferred source of energy rather than sugar, and you need it for cell membranes and other things. You really need sufficient oils. But if you don't have enough cholesterol, you can't build liver bile, and you cannot dissolve these things. And one of the bad things is you get gallbladder stones then. Anyone who's
Oh,
had one of those and passed it says having a baby is easier than passing a liver. No, I'm sorry, that's
the
uh,
bladder
the,
stuff.
the gallbladder. No,
Gallbladder.
those things. I had a close friend who had a gallbladder problem, and by the time they got to it, it turned gangrene. You really
Wow.
want enough liver bile to dissolve anything that's going through the gallbladder.
Mm. Here's a quick question, Doc, because while we're having the conversation here, because you mentioned about estrogen for women, George is asking, if we have this case, too much estrogen makes women fat.
Yeah.
Will man, if he have too much testosterone, will be fat too? Like, what would happen if you have too much testosterone?
Well, the only way you can get too much testosterone is to take it as a supplement.
But will they
And
fat? Will they become fat?
no, they will not become fat. What will happen is it'll damage their kidneys.
Oh, okay.
And if you've seen anyone who has a kidney problem, you
Yeah.
understand it's the next thing to death. By the
Oh,
time kidneys are accurately diagnosed, and
yeah,
it's an easy test, by the way. By the
yeah.
time they're diagnosed, you're ready for kidney dialysis. Kidney dialysis is a 3-year miserable death sentence. So
Wow.
you really,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
serious stuff. So what we're really looking at, I know you defined HDL and LDL, is that correct?
Yes, I did. Yeah. But
Okay.
if you can go over them again, I mean, you're more qualified than I do.
Well, what we're looking at is high density lipids, lipoproteins, and low density. At the core of each one of these things is cholesterol.
Cholesterol. Yeah.
And what we're looking at is low dense LDL gets cholesterol out into the system, and HDL absorbs the excess and reuptakes it back to the liver.
Hmm.
Well, okay, that is a good thing. Now, and that system actually works quite magnificently. That's not ever where the problem really is with cholesterol. Uh, what we're looking at is the system work. We're talking about trans fats, and we're going to get to that in just a minute.
Uh-huh.
But the big stir right now, and has been for a while, started about a decade and a half ago when a group of medical doctors got together and said, well, we really want to give people more medications. They're going, what?
Hmm.
Well, we want to lower the scores that people find optimal. We're going to define what those scores are, of what's the optimal level of cholesterol. And by the way, it doesn't matter what the level is. You can go as high as 350 and there's still no problem. But these doctors have said it has to be at a maximum of 100. Within a year, there were studies out that said, published in Time magazine, among other things,
Yeah.
that if you lower the scores of total cholesterol, cancer is the next stop.
Wow.
And all
That's
these other
if you lower it below 200.
100.
100. Wow. That's bad.
Oh, you aren't kidding. And then all the other things, if you don't have the right hormones, you can't think as well. The cell membranes are damaged, and I think that's where the cancer comes in. The cell membranes cannot function well, and they tend to go to cancer. Okay, that's a bad thing. So then we go to, oh, by the way, when you take a look at men's health,
Yeah.
you really want an HDL, high density lipoprotein. You want it to be about 40. That's a really good score. That means that you are reabsorbing it and taking the cholesterol back to the liver. For women, it ought to be 46 or 47. So that is an indicator of really good health. Now, let's go to the real issue here. Triglycerides. Now, these things are not your friend. They are a fat produced directly from short chain carbohydrates.
Wow.
You're going, well, what slice of bread? Do you ever have pasta? Ever have sugar? Those are substances that are a direct result of short chain carbohydrates. Now, this has to do with where the plaquing in your body really goes. Plaquing in the arteries that go to the heart, plaquing all over the place, including your brain. So now we're looking at what really causes heart disease. Too much short chain carbohydrates. And we talk about that every time we do a show.
Yeah.
You can't load your body up with these sugars and expect to remain healthy. You can't. Not only do you get fat, but you clog your arteries.
That's the problem. Yeah. We have
In my
boycott shared this with us here. Atorvastatin, known as Lipitor,
Lipitor,
is the most profitable prescription in history, and it's not even worth the copay, in my opinion. I don't
well,
know what that medication is. I don't use medication.
well, say what Lipitor does.
Yeah, what does it do?
It prevents the liver from producing enough cholesterol.
Whoa.
So you say, well, I take this medication and really my cholesterol is lower, but
Hmm.
you're dumber because you can't think as well. You've just reduced your amount of testosterone and estrogen, and all these other, and my cells are not as healthy. And right now, there's a very big stir in the medical community
Mhm.
about should we continue to use statins? And a number of smart physicians are saying the research could not be clearer. This is not a good thing to do. The thing to do is get your triglycerides under control by getting your diet under control.
So it's sold through food, basically.
Let food be thy medicine,
Yeah.
Hippocrates.
Wow.
And the turnaround, as I look at the research on this, the turnaround of reducing your triglycerides is really fast. Days and weeks, and all of a sudden your triglycerides, the things that are poisoning your veins and arteries, are under control.
Hmm.
They stop doing the damage. Now let's talk a little bit about your veins and arteries, because this is really an important issue, and one of the reasons that cholesterol exists. So you take a look at what damages these things. Well, what about pesticides? What about all the poisons that we put into our system? What about free radicals from eating poorly? What about stress?
Hmm.
Stress puts excess cortisol in your system, which really damages your veins, arteries, and capillaries. And one of the functions of cholesterol is it sends a band-aid to damaged vascular system parts. It's going to send it's amazing how the system works. From what I can tell, when arteries or veins are damaged, it sends a message
Mm-hmm.
to the liver to send cholesterol to it. I can hardly believe it's that sophisticated, but
Wow.
the indications are that that's true. If anyone has information that tells me different, I'd like to hear it, because it sounds
Yeah.
too magical to me. But
Yeah.
it is the case. So, but what happens with uh, triglycerides is
Mm-hmm.
that fat gloms onto, say, a patch. Then it just keeps building bigger and bigger and bigger. Then it
Mm-hmm.
develops a calcium shell on it, so that it's truly resistant. Now, there's certain foods that you can eat that will actually dissolve those, and there's an enzyme called nanokinase that actually dissolves the calcium shell, and it starts to take away the plaquing in the arteries.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a simple X-ray that you can get that's remarkably cost effective that will map out your whole heart region and how much calcification has happened in your veins and arteries. Probably worth doing, because it really gets your attention if you want to take care of your heart. And many people do.
Yeah, for sure.
So what we're looking at is this fat that's caused by the triglycerides is really a deadly thing.
Mm.
And when you start talking about it clogs up your heart, what else does it clog up? Well, circulation all over your body. And with people who have this kind of plaquing, if it goes, it's going to go to the capillaries, which means there's going to be dead zones all over your body. And on autopsy, they find that these triglycerides, which plaque capillaries, leave these small patches in
Mm-hmm.
multiple areas of dead tissue. You think that sounds good for you?
Problematic.
Probably not.
Here is a question, Doc, from Karalulak. A question: does cholesterol fight infection in the blood?
Cholesterol has an anti-inflammatory property, and I've never heard anything that says it fights infection in the blood, but
Hmm.
it does remedy inflammation. So I have no information about this fighting disease, but anything that's going to reduce the inflammation is going to give the body more energy to combat whatever it needs to combat.
What would be the problem in the blood for this case? Will be like less iron, for example? Will
You mean
be
for
like
infection to
like
happen?
blood disorder? Will be like what kind of would be like what kind of
Well,
disorders? Blood disorders will be.
triglycerides are certainly going to add to any kind of blood disorder.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
in that you don't have good blood flow to the things that need it.
Yeah. Interesting.
But infection is a whole other thing about what's going on with your immune system. For example, one of the things of not enough cholesterol is cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the killer T cells, which are designed to go after cancer and eliminate it,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to have enough of them. The average person, I think the numbers, creates 17 new cancers a day, and your killer T cells go and eliminate those cancers every day. So they're fighting cancer all day, every day, as long as you're alive.
Interesting.
So, even if I said this before, and I think it's important to emphasize this,
Yeah.
you can have a cholesterol score as high as 350, and it's not an issue. It really comes down to what's the triglycerides really like. And there's ways to remedy that. And there's also some really good things that we can do in our diet that's going to prevent this triglyceride from building.
Mm-hmm.
So where does cholesterol come from? It's in our food, right?
Yeah.
Wrong.
No. Wow.
75% of cholesterol is actually built in the liver, because your body has this wisdom that says we need it for all the functions we said earlier on. Yeah, well, we certainly do need it if we want our brains to work and we want our cells to have solid membranes to prevent cancer and so on, and all the other benefits, like we want the right levels of hormones.
Yeah.
So 75% of that actually comes from your liver produces it. Now 25% comes from the food you eat. So you could say, well, I'll go on a low-fat diet. Well, you've done yourself a dramatic disservice going on a low-fat diet. The research could not be more clear. High-fat diets, depending on what you take, what you're doing with food, is probably a dramatic health improvement. Now, it comes down to one of the things we've talked about before is what fats are you taking in?
Mm.
Well, let's say you eat salmon. You're getting a lot of omega oils in that, and it's dramatically helpful. If you take in canola oil, you've just taken in something that's going to increase your chances of poor health. So all the nut oils are no good for you. Olive oil and coconut oil are your best. And as we've talked about before, the importance of getting a high quality olive oil is dramatically important.
Mm.
The reason is, when you see on a bottle it says, this quart only cost $9. But then you see, where did the oil come from? And they name 6 different countries. And they blend it in California someplace. Well, what they don't tell you is, well, by the way, to make this affordable, we've added canola oil.
Wow.
Right. And so you have to get either a one city or a one farm olive oil that's $20 a pint. You say, that's pricey. Yeah, but cancer's pricey as well.
Yeah. Mine is
Plugging-
$26, Doc. Yeah. $26. But
Well,
it's a
and
good
you're getting
oil.
the good stuff.
Yeah, I'll take a spoon and gobble it.
No matter what I'm having, I sprinkle some olive oil on it. I get this real expensive stuff,
Yeah.
just as you do, from one city in Italy.
Mm.
Going, okay, I'm doing myself a big favor by giving myself the right kinds of oils, which also help clear your liver,
Hmm.
also help clear your gallbladder, and are good for cell membranes. Think those things are important? Oh, absolutely. So with only 25% of it coming from food,
Hmm.
the fats that you take in, carefully watch those to make sure they're the right ones. So low-fat diets really are the wrong approach for your good health. And you still
Yeah.
see people touting that. I
Oh
recently
yeah, they're
tried to reverse.
drinking.
Go ahead. I
I was gonna
recently tried.
say people still drinking low-fat milk,
Oh God,
butter that is free
fake
fat.
butter.
Everybody, yeah, it's ridiculous.
I saw a demonstration once. On YouTube,
Yeah.
and it was they put a pound of butter out, and they put a pound of margarine out, and within a couple of days, the squirrels and animals came and ate all the butter. 6 weeks later, they hadn't touched the margarine.
Oh my God. Wow. That tells you the
Animals,
story right there.
animals tell you this story.
That's true. That's
They only
true.
want real food.
Yeah, you're right. So
And so,
let me share here quickly here. I have something from Boycott. Niacin is a great supplement for health liver and cholesterol.
well, niacin is a B vitamin,
Okay.
and basically, it's a vasodilator. And you take it, and you get a much better circulation, especially on the surface of your skin. I don't know about the rest of that statement. I just haven't read any research on it.
Hmm.
But I know what it's good for. Matter of fact, there've been some discussion about is it good for cancer, but I didn't see hard numbers on it. I just heard
Hmm.
opinions.
Hmm.
So what's the answer to all of this and cholesterol? Well, you want your heart to work, you want your brain to work, you want your hormones to work, you want your skin to work, because there's a cholesterol layer under your entire skin. If you want to look old fast, have no cholesterol
Yeah.
and you age rapidly. So the answer is always in the food that you take in and some of the supplements that you take in. We're looking at short chain carbohydrates as actually poison to the human system. In 1930, there was no such thing as heart disease.
Wow.
They never saw it. And you say, well, how come? Well, times were tough, and people didn't have the luxury of eating a lot. For one thing, they didn't have white bread. I'll tell you a
Hmm.
story about that in another minute. But they had very little sugar. Sugar was expensive. They didn't have margarine. They had raw milk, which contained all the fat, and they had no clogging of the arteries, veins, or capillaries. Now, they died of other things. The number one thing they died of was infectious disease.
Hmm.
Well, modern medicine has taken us a long distance into you don't die of infectious disease much anymore because of overall hygiene. Now we have the diseases of modernity,
Hmm.
clogging of the arteries, cancer due to pesticides and other environmental poisons. And so we're looking at what do you do instead? People who do a lot of short chain carbohydrates say it's murderously hard to get off of them. They are addicted. And I know a very well known weight loss doctor who said, which is harder to get off of, cocaine addiction or sugar addiction? He said, in my experience, sugar addiction is harder to get off of than cocaine.
Wow.
And you see any number of people, they'll lose a bunch of weight. Next thing you know, they've ballooned back up and they're 10 pounds heavier than when they started. And when I question them about what happened, they say, I just love bread. I could not stop eating the bread. I'm going, yeah, well, here's the result. So the key is to find a way to motivate yourself and find the right support group to go off all the carbohydrates that you can, meaning less than 75 grams of carbohydrates a day, for 6 weeks. The cravings stop. What happens is in your small intestines, the critters that live there, the biome, the ones that live on sugar start to die off. And others take their place that are in line with the foods you're eating. So that those things that are putting chemicals in your blood that cause you to crave it aren't as strong anymore. Other things in the biome have taken their place. So it's 6 weeks and you're a different creature. You're not going to go after, chances are you're not going to go after, but it means how much alcohol can you drink? Almost none. How much bread can you eat? How much cake? Never have another piece. You're going, well, that's hard. It means I'm really depriving myself. Well, 6 weeks into this, when your microbiome has changed, you're not depriving yourself at all. You start wanting the things that really do taste good with your new gut arrangement. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Interesting. A quick question here. I saw one here from Boycott. Does niacin reduces triglycerides? Doc, I mean, he's asking, does niacin reduces triglycerides?
I can't imagine that it does, because triglycerides are a direct result of carbohydrates. It's not that niacin isn't good for you, because it is, depending what form you take and depending what you want to do. But I can't believe, based on the origins of triglycerides, that niacin would have any effect whatsoever. Diet is the only thing we know of that's going to make a difference. And reducing bread and cake and cookies and all the rest of that, pasta and so on, is the thing that works.
Okay.
Long term, I can't imagine anything else would work. I've heard of people that take pills so that they cannot digest short chain carbohydrates. I'm going, what kind of solution is that?
Yeah.
Let's take more pills that we don't know what the side effects are.
Yeah, that's problematic.
So we stop our addiction to cookies.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's come up with some foods that really are terrifically good for reducing cholesterol.
Okay.
Well, let's start with number 1, extra virgin olive oil from single source, the expensive stuff. And I really like your idea of a tablespoonful of it. Do you do that twice a day or once a day?
Once a day.
We know the benefits of that are almost incalculable. Let's go to avocados. Avocados are a fruit. They're not a vegetable. And they're loaded with the right kinds of fats and oils. So if you can create an avocado, guacamole is a great source.
Yeah.
Because you're getting onions and tomatoes and other things in it, some spices. The thing to pay attention to is get the organic ones if they're available. The manufacturers, and I mean manufacturers, factory farming, they spray the avocado skin with a particular substance that stops them from aging so rapidly. And that stuff is not good for human beings. It might even be carcinogenic. This is something new. We don't know the result of it yet. How about salmon and other kinds of quality fish oils? Those are good. Those are good also.
Mm-hmm.
The thing to pay attention to is when you get a fish oil, it comes in a capsule. Cut it open and smell it before you take any of them. I did that many years ago, When I bought a whole bottle of cheap ones, I say, these are good. And they smelled awful. They had rancid oil in them.
Wow.
And then the brand I use now, I cut it open and it tastes and smells fresh. So not all fish oils are created equal.
Yeah.
Here's one we all like, pistachios.
I do spicy pistachios.
Yes.
Very spicy. Yeah. And I do a little bit of that.
A little bit is probably right. And all pistachios are already roasted. You can't, I've never seen raw pistachios. Have you?
No. They're roasted. The only one that I do different is what you call them? Geez, I draw a blank on them.
A kind of nut?
Yeah, it's a kind of nuts that.
Well, let's go to almonds and walnuts and Brazil nuts. The thing of Brazil nuts are loaded with selenium, terrific for your thyroid. Yeah. And so 2 of those a day is about the right amount. Sitting down and eating 10 of them, overload your system with selenium, and you simply don't need it. And your body has a limited capacity for fats and oils. It can't manage gigantic loads of those things. So 2 is the right amount. I had trouble finding them. Believe it or not, I found them. The only place I found them was on Amazon. And because I really searched for them because I knew the health benefits. And I ordered them and got them the next day, and I've been eating 2 a day ever since. I keep them in the freezer.
The one I was thinking about is cashews.
Oh, cashews, yes.
I found out that if you eat natural cashews, is better. But if you eat the one that are already been roasted, it's not good because the heat takes away all the vitamins.
Well, the heat degrades the fats and oils in there.
Yeah. So I stopped.
And a way to. There's 2 other nuts that I really think are terrifically good, but you got to treat them in a particular way to get the real benefit. Almonds and walnuts. And the way to deal with them is the night before you're going to eat them, you put them in some spring water or some filtered water overnight. And you do it a small batch at a time. There's a particular enzyme on the outer shell of these nuts that prevents maximum digestion and actually hurts your digestive system. However, if you soak them overnight, it degrades that enzyme, so it's not much of it left. Now, what it does is it makes the nuts a little softer. They're not as crunchy as they were the night before when you eat them the next day. But the health benefits are much better.
Very good. Let me take a question here from Jules. He put, what about cod liver oil?
Oh, yes. There are a number of oils. Cod liver is terrifically good.
It's a good one.
And I like rotating through several kinds of oil.
Yeah.
Cod liver is a good one, which I have. You can get salmon oil. You can get, let's see, what are some of the other oils? I got one from shellfish, which was really quite amazing. Anyway, there are a number of these things, and as long as they're treated well, that is, they're processed well, and you open them up and test them to make sure you're getting fresh. These sea oils are, I can't tell you how good they are for you. Remember, we're talking about your brain function. We're talking about cell membranes, and we're talking about your hormones. And so the better the quality of these oils, the better the cholesterol, and the better your health is. And from what we can tell, the less your disease is, and the longer you're going to live.
That's true. There's another one from Jules. Is oatmeal protege?
Oatmeal is a short chain carbohydrate.
Carbohydrates, yeah.
And you take a look at the blood work.
Yeah.
A person eats a bowl of oatmeal, just plain oatmeal. And 2 hours later, their cortisol level is spiking so high that it says, I'm now poisoning your system. I'm hurting your vascular system by poisoning you with too much cortisol. I'm damaging your veins and arteries and capillaries. And I'm increasing your chances of cancer. Oatmeal is not your friend. It's only your friend if you're...
Yeah, I must admit, I do oatmeal, but not on a daily basis. Once every, literally, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever. But what I do is I add eggs into it, and I add
perfect.
butter into it.
Oh, that's really smart.
Real butter.
Here's why. What you're doing there is, first of all, you're adding protein. Then you're adding the right kinds of oils that are going to slow your digestion process. If you just eat the oatmeal, it goes immediately into your blood within minutes, skyrockets it for a couple of hours. But if you put a big pat of butter on it, you put some eggs in it, you're now slowing the transit so that it never spikes. It might go up some, but it levels off at a much lower level, and the cortisol level and insulin levels are dramatically less. So the way you're doing it, if you're going to eat oatmeal, is the way to do it.
That's all. But only once every 3 weeks or so. I don't do.
It has, and then it means it has practically no bad consequence if it has any.
Now, there is one thing that I noticed, of course, which is a common sense for us to think in something like that. Even Zhu Liang has mentioned this. This healthy stuff is very expensive. I mean, this is why you have the McDonald's, you have the Burger King. People can't afford that kind of stuff. But he's right about this. When you have an inflation, when inflation is high, you got a problem with that.
And for Patel, he's in Australia. It's expensive here too.
Yeah.
You know, I recently had a conversation with a whole food wholesaler, a food wholesaler, and he said, people don't believe it, but our costs have gone up 17%.
Wow.
From the farmers, and their costs are going up because feed is going up, petroleum's going up. I mean, when this kind of inflation cycles hit, everything is hurt.
Sure.
And I know that I mentioned this once before. One of my favorite things to get at Whole Foods cost 99 cents. Today I looked at it in the store and it was $3.99.
Wow. Yeah, inflation is around across the board because that's normal. Another comment from Karakulak: American diet is the worst. He's right.
I had a conversation with because I'm so interested in food, I have these conversations with people. I had a really close friend who went to Italy for 6 weeks. And he said, I ate steak there that was better than ever. I ate pasta, I stuffed myself. I came back 11 pounds skinnier.
Wow.
And you take a look at the regulations, and most of Europe has very strict laws against the things that are nothing here, like the pesticides, like the kind of fertilizers they use, like the hormone injections in all the animals. They're just not permitted there.
Yeah. Well, a lot of Americans do not know. A lot of Americans do not know that our meat here in the U.S., you cannot export it to the EU. You cannot export it to Japan. You cannot export it, I believe, to Canada, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I know the two for fact. The EU and Japan will not get American beef because of the hormones.
I don't know if it's true or not. I when I bumped up against it, I believed it was true. What happens to dairy cattle? Now, it takes them 3 years to mature. Then they're good for about 2.5 years. Massively produce as much milk as they possibly can. Then what happens to them? Do you know?
No.
They're slaughtered.
Oh.
So they have a 5.5 year lifespan. And what do they do to get all that milk out of them? Oh, they pump them full of all kinds of hormones. And so when you get the meat, which is a spent dairy cow, you get all the accumulation that they got over all those years to pump them so they could pump out milk endlessly.
Interesting.
But after 2.5 years, they're just burned out.
Wow. Let me share. I want to share this with the viewers. a screenshot from what I have in the garden here. So, uh, as I mentioned to you guys, I do plant
Oh,
my
look
own
at the
stuff
cabbage.
here.
Look at those
That's
greens.
cabbage. That is
Yeah, you
correct.
got you got you got at least two kinds of greens there.
Yeah, I have. This is
Oh, those are
cauliflower.
beautiful.
Yeah,
You got cauliflower, you got broccoli, you got
I had cabbage,
cabbage.
cauliflower, broccoli, and I have lettuce also right here.
All of those are fabulous. My
Yeah,
favorite among those is the cabbage.
the cabbage. Yeah, it's growing, so
And
it's early for me
and
to pick it up.
oh yeah, it's not into a big ball yet.
So I wanted
But
to share this with because I told the viewers before last time, and next time I'm gonna snap a picture of the veggies because they are now getting big. So I want to share it with you. I do know by the end of February, I think, or March, the season changes, so I have to take everything out, rotate the dirts and all that stuff, and plant the stuff for uh, plant for the next. The next I want to put is potatoes.
yes,
That's the one I want to put, and I might consider zucchini or yeah, that's the only
if you
ones
put
I'm
this,
considering.
if you yeah, if you put the zucchini, I used to grow zucchini. I had
Yeah,
used to have 300 square foot garden, and here in Texas, you could grow almost anything. It was
yeah,
really astonishing.
yeah,
The reason I like cabbage so well is it's so full of phytonutrients,
yeah,
and eating it raw is so healing for your entire digestive
yeah,
system.
yeah. But do you
So
know
you take
why
it.
I'm doing? Do you know why I'm doing the cabbage? It's
Why?
because I want to do the fermented food myself right here at home.
Whoa!
Just
You're
use
going
the
to make
cabbage.
sauerkraut.
Yes, yeah. Because why buy it from outside? Because I know
For
what
one
I'm
thing,
eating. Even for the chicken, I give them food here. I don't
yeah.
just buy the stuff from the street. So because you
Well,
invest in your health.
raw cabbage
Yeah.
sprinkled with with any kind of natural salt.
Uh-huh.
I like Himalayan salt myself the
That's what I
best.
use too. Yeah.
And you say, boy, it's fun to eat. It's tasty. It's crunchy, and it's satisfying while
Yeah.
it heals your entire digestive tract.
Yeah.
And the fiber in it is
Yeah.
fabulous for building the microbiome in your small intestines,
Yeah.
which it lives exclusively on fiber.
Yeah. Well, feel free to stop by, Dr. Stewart, and pick whatever you want because that's too much just for the two of us here. You can come and stop by. So, all right, let me see if there's one more question here before I let you go. And I'm gonna scroll all the way up and see if there is any question there. Uh, Otherwise, we will meet with you guys again next week. We'll think of a great topic to consider next week. Oh yeah, Juge, I remember you mentioning Juge makes his own sauerkraut at home now. Yeah, he mentioned it to me last time. I remember. So
It'd be fun to talk to him or get more information
yeah,
uh, because sauerkraut is not such a simple process. You need to know. You have to have the right container. You have to have
yeah,
the right. You have to have the right salt and other kinds of ingredients. You have to age it the right amount.
yeah,
Uh,
sure.
I thought about making it, and I just didn't. I couldn't find a motivation to do all the complicated steps. But
Well, that's
I
what.
really like the idea. For one thing, you get to trust it.
Yeah. Well,
You
it's
made it.
growing it here at home. So I want to say hi quickly to Jennifer Lee. Hi, Jennifer. Good to see you here. So it's been a while since I've seen you. Those are Doc. They've been with me for forever since the start.
Oh,
So I
wonderful.
remember. I know the name. Wonderful people. Really a great community, and that was the whole reason for why I wanted to do this, just to also share the knowledge. And I'm very grateful to you for allocating time for us here to share your knowledge with all of us. So,
Well, for the people who joined us today, I hope we took the scare out of cholesterol.
yeah,
Uh, Point is, triglycerides under control. Just forget about cholesterol. If your triglycerides are under control, the plaquing won't occur, and all the bad downline things, you're safe from it.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, guys, I hope you find this very informative, and I look forward to seeing you next week when we do our conversation with Dr. Stewart. I'm always open to your suggestions as far as the topic. Just let me know. I'll run it by Dr. Stewart, and we just go from there. Okay. I look forward to seeing you on the other channels tomorrow and the after tomorrow. And as always, remember one key: your health is your best asset. Till next
How
time, guys.
true.
Bye bye.